and the MacDev guns, and just his viewpoint of the game, how optimistic he was with everything that he did, how he helped out players, how he was always there for us was amazing. And then I actually got a chance to play with Nicky for the English event with the Tortugas in 2017, where we ran through the division and you were out there bunkering people and absolutely loved it, man. So thank you, Nicky T. I appreciate having you on, man.
Okay. Thank you for the invite, Kyle. I'm excited to be part of it.
So give us a little overview. Where are you currently now? What are you currently doing? What's going on in your life?
So I am in lockdown in Manchester, UK, and pretty much avoiding COVID-19.
Yeah.
So life is good. I mean, this is one of those opportunities where we're actually gifted so much time to catch up with people, friends, family, work on stuff that we've been putting off for however long, and really kind of get back to basics in our lives, and to a certain extent our expenditure and our needs, and everything materialistic has kind of gone out the window, and everything that is important is kind of been brought to the forefront. So super enjoyable time of life, if I'm honest. This is the slap in the face that I feel a lot of people needed.
I love that. And that's the optimism I was talking about right there. I mean, people, there's two sides to every coin, and there's some people that will take this in negative light, and other people that will love their life and rock and roll with it like you will. I love it, man.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is kind of, I've spent a lot of time with my kids. We have, like my family has a weekly kind of Zoom call where we have a quiz, and it's just kind of like I'm seeing people who I'd normally see 3 or 4 times a year every week, which is cool.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, it's great. It's really good. And this is, you got to embrace the situation that you're in. And people are butthurt that they're not playing paintball. I get that. But fact of the matter is, you're actually being given a real good opportunity to play a lot of paintball in the future. So, we can use that.
Yeah, absolutely. So what are you working on during this time? I mean, spending time with family, really connecting with yourself. Are you working on Tutornology right now? Are you working on other projects? What are you diving into?
I mean, there's kind of everything I'd hoped that I'd done this year by this time has kind of gone out the window, in the sense of you can't get out in the UK, you can't get out to fields to test, to play, to review. So whilst you could do a lot of things theoretically, in practice, you're not getting as hands-on as you need to be able to do things correctly, in my opinion. So other things kind of come to the forefront. You have actually the opportunity to do a lot of discussion-based content. So kind of what's paintball going to look like when we come out of this? And the reality is nobody knows when we're going to come out of this. So you can hypothesize, okay, in 3 months, this is what it could look like. In a year, this is what it could look like. In 5 years, this is what it might look like. But it's kind of, I think a lot of people are, when you take away the real good stuff in people's lives, like paintball, they kind of realize what they're left with. Some people are very content with what they're left with. For some, it's a huge void that they're, the 95% of their life doesn't actually fulfill. And this is where I refer to this is the slap in the face, the wake up call that a lot of people actually needed. Are you stuck in a job that actually sucks and you hate? And if you are, now's a really cool time to do something about that. Whether it's, doing some online training, learning some stuff, learning a language, learning music, whatever it might be, you've got time, and you've probably got more time than you've ever had to do it. And life doesn't have to suck.
I love that.
To be honest.
I love that. And yeah, it's the crazy part is that just prior to this quarantine, it felt like nobody had time, right? Everybody was saying, they were working nonstop. Social media was going, everything of this. They never had time. So, you bring up a great point, Nikki T. It's just be able to sit back and realize what you love and find that and go after it. I've done a few of these video podcasts now where I've talked about like your passion will really shine through if you just take time to think about it. And then with this time, how do you enhance that passion? And social media is the best way to do it right now. I mean, the engagement has gone up over 40% during this time of quarantine. So like getting your message out there, just like, hey, this is what really does make me happy. And for me, everyone on here knows for me, it's paintball and business, right? So that's why I'm even doing these. I'm trying to connect paintball and business and get the word out there. But yeah, that's the real big thing, is that making sure you're finding happiness. And I love that, Nikki T. I don't think I've ever seen you down at one point. I can turn to you at any situation, from the PSP events we were together or the European events, and there's a smile on your face and optimism coming out of your ears. So I love that. And yeah, for anybody listening, that's the biggest thing, is to make sure that you're finding something that you do and that you're happy with. So how is True Technology going? You mentioned that you're working more on a discussion base, which I absolutely love.
I mean, it's a tough gig in quarantine times for any content creator, because you've got to be infinitely more resourceful than ever. There's a lot of what's really interesting is, if I look at so I've been doing the kind of the YouTube, the Patreon, the content, one-man band thing since January 19. So what's that, 15, 16 months in?
Yeah, over a year.
Of what attracts people, what content they enjoy. And the reality is, and interestingly, it refers back to one of your points from a moment ago, most people don't have the time to digest a lot of the content. So, I could put out a piece of content that I think's amazing, and it might get 100 views, which is, a drop in the ocean. I could put out a piece of content that I know was rushed. I wasn't happy with the edit. Sound was horrendous, and it gets 5,000 views, and you're kind of like, okay. There's no actual formula there is a formula. There's no consistent relationship between quality and success, which is kind of a curveball when it comes to content creation. It's a real curveball, because everything that I'm kind of geared up to do is to do it to the best I can. I don't want to do a kind of a Blair Witch style run around the field with my cell phone, trying to bunker people as my average kind of level of quality of content. I'd rather get it shot well, get it edited well. I think I was probably one of the first coaches, if you like, online to use a microphone for my videos. And people were like, "Oh, the sound's amazing." I was like, "Well, the sound is not amazing. It's just I was the best of a bad bunch, if that makes sense."
Yeah.
And the frustration in paintball is you're not always kind of way up there. You're above the average. And if you're above the average, you shine. And that's a frustration, because our industry shouldn't be like that. It should be, a rising tide raises all the ships. And I want everybody to get better. I want them to push me to make better content. And what's been interesting over the past, 12, 15 months is I've seen other content creators up their game. And there's a lot of super talented people out there, really talented. There's a depth of knowledge within the industry, within the person, and there's a huge array of personalities within this industry. Not all of them are public facing, or not all of them are capable or want to be public facing. But, paintball in the 90s was a riot. I'm fortunate that I was from that generation where we got to experience a rock star lifestyle. And even if you weren't the rock stars, you were drinking with the rock stars, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So, and it was a riot. It was an absolute riot. And, unfortunately, my kids will never experience that because the world's a different place. Mm-hmm. Most of the current generation of paintballers will never experience that, but they get glimpses of it, and things like Iron City Classic. We get to hang out with people we hung out with 20 years ago, which is just insanely cool. And it's just, there's so much that we can all do better. I mean, even in these kind of crazy lockdown times, if we just took the time to kind of, let's say if every paintballer out there took the time to engage with 10 non-paintball friends and introduce them to the principles of the sport. This is what tournament paintball looks like. This is what recreational paintball looks like. This is what, scenario paintball looks like, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. When this is all over, how about we all meet up and go out for a day?
Yep.
And, and do it. You can sow a lot of thought-provoking seeds in that sense.
Yeah, I mean, you brought up an immense amount of good points. I mean, first starting off with the content, right? So I agree with you. Like, if we're going to be recognized as a professional sport, we have to have professional level content. And it's crazy if you think of the timeline, because you look back to when HK, HK built their whole business off content. Their whole business was off video content. It was Cassidy Sanders, who's I'm pretty sure a professional videographer now, who did an incredible job representing that company with content that everyone loved. And then people kind of got complacent with that content. And then we went to PBA, where PBA held great content. They did some really good stuff. And then, now currently we have, companies like yourself that are releasing content. We have companies like Virtue that are releasing great content. And then we have flickers of everything in between. And then we have the Go Sports footage, which everyone loves that we have it, but they complain about the angles or the cinematography behind it or the actual value of the publication they're putting out. I love it. I think it's great. Do I think they can do better? 100%. But I think they know that too, right? So it's crazy.
They get a rough ride, in my opinion.
They do.
As in, I view the Go Sports footage like I view getting on a plane and flying across the Atlantic. Yeah. Could I build a plane, fuel it, hire a pilot, and get across the Atlantic for under $1,000? No, I couldn't. No. Am I going to bitch that I'm paying $1,000 for it? No, I'm not.
Yeah.
That's a good deal.
You're right.
You go and film or get myself to an event so I could watch paintball for $9.99? No, I could not.
No way. Yeah.
Even if it was 10 minutes down the road, I would still stop at the gas store and buy more than that.
Yeah. Yep.
So quit bitching, start supporting.
Exactly. I mean, that's the biggest thing is there got to be a positive momentum behind it. Like, there's
huge. I mean, we've just had probably the best event ever
in Vegas
in terms of from a spectator's perspective.
Yep.
Vegas was phenomenal. And, and there's so much depth to that content that they filmed and put out that that hasn't been able to be elaborated on, really.
Really, I mean, and that's the biggest thing is that the content. That's the next part, Nikki T. The part that I don't really see is the elaboration of the content. I mean, they do a great job of producing it, but then what do we do with it afterwards? Like, Travis Lemansky posted in here earlier, and him and Callie Rudolph do an amazing job at representing their company visually through graphics, through video. And you can tell they are literally the only, correct me if I'm wrong, the only paintball team that has a fully backed and supported store where they're selling their products. And that's all due their content creation. They do a great job with it. Like, there's no reason that every other pro team can't do that, right? And it would just help evolve the overall pro team, bring money in. It does a lot for Infamous. I know that.
Oh, exactly. I mean, we kind of there's so many talking points about that event. I mean, first event, Todd Martinez doesn't commentate. first event Sloviak doesn't commentate.
Yeah.
And they win.
That's crazy. I didn't think about that.
Because they're concentrating on doing what they're paid to do.
Yep.
Play paintball and coach paintball.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, they played amazing too. Their whole new roster.
Amazing. Exactly. They did. They played absolutely amazing, you know, but it's kind of how much have they hindered themselves from being able to perform at that level by, you know, by trying to do too many things at an event. I mean, I had, as part of my career with Eclipse, part of my career with Virtue, I always had the responsibility of working and playing events or working and coaching or whatever it was. And you can't do two jobs well. It's pretty basic in some sense.
I experienced that for the first time in Vegas. So I worked the Virtue booth and played, and it is a stretch, man. You're, you know, at point.
I mean, what you're trying to say is it sucks as a player.
Yeah.
And it sucks when you're working.
Well, I mean,
because all you want to do is play.
The thing is that what I truly believe is that teams like Impact and their new video series really represents it. Teams like Impact are doing it right, where they take it so serious that they are breaking things down like they were building a home, like making sure that they cross their T's and dot their I's on every aspect to find success. And honestly, every team should be doing that. You should be coming from the field to the hotel or the meeting area and then developing out your game plan even further, saying, okay, these are the flaws that we got exploited on these teams. This is the footage for the next team. This is what we want to do. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about that. Let's break it down so that when we get there to the field the next day, there are no questions. There's only confidence. And with that confidence breeds success, right? Yeah. So, yeah, it definitely sucks. Yeah, it sucks doing it. And that's just because, there's got to be a level of dedication to the actual game, right? To the game itself.
I mean, 100%. I mean, I don't know the last time kind of Rory McIlroy worked the Nike booth. When he's playing, a PGA Open, he's probably just there on the practice range, just kind of cracking on.
Exactly.
His level of commitment is and what I mean by that, drawing that comparison, is the level of commitment he has to his sport is mirrored by the level of commitment that the top pros have to paintball. It's, sure, the paycheck's different, but that's the only different.
Yeah.
Really.
That's the real thing that gets at me, and the reason I know paintball will be super successful one day is because the dedication of the individuals in the sport, right? You can't have such a large mass of people that have such a dire passion and dedication to a single asset, and then at the end of the day have it be a hobby, right? It just isn't. It has so much more potential than that, simply because there's people like yourself, like me, like Travis posted here in the comments, that have dedicated not just their lives, but all their intellectual fortitude towards this sport. So that means years and years of developmental thought of how do we make this better? How do we make this better? How do we do better? And with a combination of that, you find success eventually, right?
Do you want a curveball to that discussion?
Yeah, hit me.
I think there's very separate entities in this sport that are never really recognized or given the acceptance that they deserve. So if your aspiration is to be a pro paintballer, that's absolutely legit and fine. Yeah. And I wish, honestly, if I can do it, any of you guys can do it, because Jim was just a guy down the bar to me rather than somewhere where he went and lifted weights. So, be the guy who can shoot straight, be the guy who is, super accurate and smart. If your aspiration is just to have a hobby that you really enjoy, 100% embrace that and go all out, buy whatever equipment you want, buy what makes you happy, because we only get one go at this life.
Right.
You don't know what's around the corner. Who cares if everybody hates your paintball marker, but you love it? That's all that matters. And some of the most fun I've ever had on a paintball field is actually using some really bad equipment. But you have the sheer delight of that ball went where you hoped it would go, and you got an elimination.
Yeah.
I think the realization for me, probably a decade ago, was that 99% of people who play paintball will never aspire to be pros. They just want to have fun. And if their fun is going out and shooting 3 cases of paint on a Saturday, going home, telling their wife, their girlfriend, their boyfriend, whoever, the dog, I had a great day. That's all that matters.
All that matters, right?
It is. It really is. Let the people who want to be pros aspire to be pros, and, wish them the best. If that's not your bag, go and have fun. It's kind of, we've had crazy experiences playing paintball. I've shot at guys dressed in like bubble wrap as marshmallow men.
Yeah.
It's kind of, we played in the dark, the glow in the dark paintball.
Yep.
There's, played 24-hour games. There's all kinds of craziness. So, 10 man, 5 man, 7 man, 2,000 man back in the, invasion of Normandy days. There's just so much out there for people to get stuck into. And it doesn't matter if you're a speedballer, you're a mag fedder, you play classic paintball. I mean, classic paintball to me, that's where I want to be. If I'm taking, and this is where kind of post-COVID, things get real interesting, because all of a sudden we're going to be faced with the opportunity to do things with a fresh perspective. When everything's been taken away,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, think of a kid who's not been allowed sweets for 6 months, right?
Yeah.
They're going to settle for crappy candy. They're going to go for the candy they like the most. And it's just, that's my mentality when it comes to paintball. I want, when quantity gets taken away, I'm going to double down on quality. And
Yep.
whatever quality is to me, it doesn't have to be the same to you or to anyone else. It's just, it's what you want to spend your time and money doing with the people you want to do it with.
I love that, Nick T. And like you said before, man, and anybody watching, I hope that when your state opens up, or when your country opens up, if you're overseas, that you go out there with a smile on your face and you just go enjoy paintball. I mean, that's all I'm doing right now. They opened up for us 2 weeks ago, and we're out there just, normally I'd be doing drills for 8 hours. I'm just shooting at people. I'm having a blast. I'm having a great time. And that's what I'm hoping for everybody else. So, Nick, with the announcements coming up, with Tom Cole doing his announcement of how he's going to change the NXL, we went over this a little bit before we went on air, of doing regional-based events and then coming back for World Cup. My biggest question for you, Nikki, you've been in the game for so long. You played pro. You've been through all the divisions. You're coaching now. You're helping people. In a premier world, right? In the best light possible, what do you think what would you want paintball to look like in 5 years?
Safe, if I'm honest. I mean, being perfectly open and honest, my biggest fear is that people aren't taking the current situation serious enough. And we are, as a community, we have the opportunity or I guess the requirement to travel quite a bit. Paintball isn't something most people can play in their backyard. You have to commute to the field. You have to do, sometimes you commute interstate, sometimes internationally. I think that the global economy as a whole is going to be significantly down because people haven't been doing their normal kind of spending routine, if you like. So I think we all have a bit of a social responsibility, moral, economic responsibility, however you want to phrase it, however it resonates with you, to build your locality first and foremost. Now, in paintball, that to me translates as support your local fields, support your local events. Because by doing so, you're also supporting your local gas stations, your local grocery stores, your local hotels, your local restaurants, etc. And that's hugely positive. I think that's quite a significant period, probably for the next 12 to 36 months, in my opinion, that paintball is going to need that, and paintball fields are going to need that support from their customer bases. And there's plenty of fields out there. There's plenty of paintballers out there. This is all very possible if we all pull in the same direction.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate that there's the laws of the ICCs, the World Cups, the ECPLs, etc. But if that's not your location, is it the best thing to do at this time? I mean, I'm not going to go to Iron City Classic this year, and we should have been going. That's a personal decision by me. I don't want to leave the UK.
Yeah.
That soon, because I don't necessarily agree with everything that's in place in other countries, and that's not saying I agree with everything that's in place here. I just have the ability to conduct myself the way that I believe is correct here. If I go outside of the UK, there's different parameters, and they're unnecessary risks. It's unnecessary travel. It's selfish. And would I take a risk for a selfish level of enjoyment to then bring back to family and friends? No, I wouldn't, is my honest answer. I mean, I hope that, to answer your question, I hope that in 5 years' time, we actually have experienced the resurgence of the regional circuits, the regional scenes. I would love to see, this not just being a kind of an NXL stopgap before World Cup. I'd actually like this to be for the next, 1, 2, 3 years. This is how we're going to do it, and things culminate in the World Cup again, because that's how it always was.
You love that big World Cup. Like, would you rather have local-based divisionals and one big giant World Cup?
100%. I mean, why are people flying all over the country 5 times a year? It's just a routine that we've had no other option to do. So yeah, I mean, I think there's a really good opportunity. The old CFOAs, the MXLSs, etc. There's some really good regional series out there, and they can better tailor things to what the weather's going to be like. You can use those events to build the local fields, etc. So
I love that. Yeah, Nikki, I agree with you. I agree that local based and helping out the fields and promoting it on a smaller scale is what we need for the development of not just recreational based players, but also helping in the transition from recreational based player to deciding what you want to do, to deciding if you want to be competitive or if you want to do this as a hobby or whatever you want to be. Good friend of ours here, London Lewis, asked an awesome question. How can people survive if fields are having to raise prices to stay alive and many people are without jobs as well? It seems we might see a sharp drop in numbers. What do you think, Nikki T? You think we're going to, I heard in the beginning of this quarantine, people scared about paintball not even coming back. Do you see that as a possibility?
No, I mean, I think paintball will always exist in the same form that, polo exists. There's still people out there who can afford horses and buddies to ride around hitting a ball with a big stick, right? Yeah. So I don't see paintball going. I see fields may have to adjust their approach in the sense of you probably wouldn't run a really expensive day for your prospective customers. You would probably look to either do, a limited paint event, maybe a classic style walk-on, everything you can do to just minimize the the expenditure requirement, I guess, the cost of entry, if you like, but not meaning just the entry fee, the cost to compete. Let's say that.
Yeah, we had a local field here that actually increased their prices from on the competitive side from $35 a case and 15 entry to $25 entry, 55 a case, and it really put. We understand he's a close friend of mine. He's a great business owner, and I understand that during the time down, especially here in Southwest Florida, we lost the 2 last month of the season, which is the most influential months in the entire year for businesses down here.
Right.
So for him, he's looking at as the rec ball side. Okay, if I have to increase these prices, and I basically have to make my missed expenditures from the players that I have consistent influx from, right? So I have these guys come in every single weekend. I need to raise their prices so I can get my money back. The problem is that with competition and with such huge spike of pricing, a lot of the players aren't going to the field. Do you think there's a better method for him to attack the situation?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that sounds very much like okay, this is where I was at, and this is where I've dropped to. How do I get back up there?
Yep.
The reality is, this is where you're at. Go that way, rather than go that way. So
we're at zero right now, and
everyone is.
I talked about this for a lot in the marketing side, the lifetime value of a customer, right? So,
100%.
Yeah, a lot of us as competitive players, we get looked down upon because we pay a little less, or maybe we're there so often that you might catch us making a mess sometimes, or whatever your negativity might be about the competitive side. At the end of the day, the competitive side players are normally the income that will sustain the business from being alive, like the electricity, the mortgage, and all that. And then the rec ball players are the money in your pocket. Because we're consistent. You have no consistency with the rec ball players. But me, I'm going to play every weekend. I'm not going to.
It's interesting as well, isn't it? Because, just talking about this, new ideas come through. And the reality is not many people at the moment can afford to spend $1,500 on a new marker. If I was a field owner, I'd probably contact some marker manufacturers and say, what can we do to get, a couple of Lux X's, a couple of CS2s, a couple of, Prime XTS's, etc., that I can use as upgrades on the field for the next 12 months. $10 a time, $20 a time, whatever it is, give somebody the experience of using. It's like hiring a Ferrari for a day. Go and enjoy it, because you only get one go at this.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah, see, that's a perfect example. Chris Williams used the example of selling them the masks, right? To stay healthy, like the rental masks, instead of having to rent it, actually selling the mask with the package, which is, that's I keep on saying there's 3 stages to the development of a player, right? They find out what paintball is, and then they go to a local field. That's the first stage. The second stage is them actually purchasing their own product, right? That's when they actually make the financial investment, say I'm dedicated to paintball. And then the third stage is deciding that what level of competition they want. Are they an every week type of guy? Are they every week or every other month type of guy? What type of competitive manner do you play? Or you just do it for fun once a month, whatever it might be. But you have to make those 3-step transition. It has to start at a field, and they have to make investment in their own gear, and then they have to decide how much they actually want to compete in it. Which, all the way across the board, as long as we get to stage 3, as long as we're pushing to stage 3 every time, I'm super happy. Even if the guy goes and plays woods ball and never turns to a competitive field, as long as he knows paintball is a competitive sport.
Mr. Woods ballers, you watch out, Mr. Barry. So,
oh yeah, man, I got a 5-man ring.
I mean, how would it be though? South Florida, you guys have quite a good amount of fields, right?
Yeah, I mean, Miami has like 4 fields stacked on top of each other. We have 1 field here in Southwest Florida, and then CFPs in the Central, and then we have 1 or 2 fields north.
Cool. That to me sounds like the basis of a great league. Yeah. How cool would it be to just, even if we got to a point where each field has like a home team that represents, like CFP All-Stars, whatever, call them whatever. But then they go and play at the Miami field one week, then the next week, the other two Miami fields have a playoff, and it just becomes, like the NFL style division, and it's almost like, and I'm not talking 5-man here. I'm just talking like this is let's raise the tide for everybody. This is like, okay, every field has 50 local customers. Why don't they go and have a different experience? With network, have fun, go and when I was doing shotgun shooting, you could very easily get yourself to the stage where you were a big fish in a small pond. You could shoot at one club. You could get used to all the backgrounds. You could get used to how the target setter used to throw the targets. And very quickly your scores went skyrocketed because you just got comfortable. You'd go to a new ground and you'd shoot like shit. It was, it was just the nature of the beast. You'd have the sun in your eyes. The clays would be different colors. They would be, the course setter had different preferences. And you only got good by going to, 20 different clubs on a regular basis. So you were constantly exposed to new things. You got better at analyzing things. You got better at processing information of, oh, that looks like it's doing that. I'm going to go and, actually, I think it needs that in terms of lead, in terms of speed. It's
the difficulty. It actually excelled where you are generally in just shooting the shotgun, not just made you good.
100%, and then you factor in the difference between play and live, and things go up again. And with paintball, it's very much a case of if you stay as a rec player at one field, you'll reach a certain level pretty quick, but then you'll plateau. If you are a rec player who visits a few fields, you'll have a heck of a lot more fun. You'll experience different equipment. You'll experience different terrains to play on. You'll experience different paint. You'll experience different goggles, markers, etc.
Oh, it's crazy. If you're down here in Florida, Nikki, there's 3 different types of play styles in Florida. Yeah. You have the Miami play style, which is very fast paced, very send it to runners and follow them up quick. You have the annihilator style of paintball over here on my coast, which is more of a guns up, heavy, like shoot, move with progression, move as a team. And then you have like the CFP damage style, which is like heavy defense. It's crazy to see. And it's great that you mentioned that because it does diversify not only the player, but their understanding of the total game.
And it's the understanding that's key because, it's like, I can't think of a really good analogy. I was going to give a really bad analogy. But if you understand what's going on, you might not be able to fix it, but you can ask the right questions.
Yeah.
So, and it's kind of, that's invaluable. And there's so much help out there for people who want it. I mean, gosh, when I was a 17-year-old kid getting into paintball and aspiring to be a pro, if you walked up and you asked a pro for help, they'd tell you where to go, and it was like, get out.
Yeah.
But now, kids message Jason Edwards, kids message Keith Brown, kids message Chad George, etc. And those guys are freaking awesome players, have been for decades, and, are so courteous and accommodating.
Yep.
It's ridiculous. The opportunities that exist for up and coming paintballers. You can connect with almost everyone on social media. You actually have access, and a lot of access to a lot of people.
Yeah, not only the players, that's one of the main reasons I feel like paintball is going to be so successful is because of people like that. I mean, across the board, you can rattle off the top 20 players in the world, and probably 19 out of those 20 are awesome human beings, right? So they give opportunity for
easy,
yeah, and everything else. And then you have Trigonology, you have BKI, you have local fields and local pro teams wherever they are. They have all these programs put in place that we didn't have. I didn't have when I started 15 years ago. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I mean, you want to try out for any of the top teams, you can message any of them and just go, hey, can I come try out? And they may say no, but at least you have the opportunity to ask the question.
Exactly. That didn't happen. I grew up in upstate New York, right? We didn't even have a pro team. The closest thing that we had was Philly Americans died the year that I really went competitive. So after that, we didn't have anybody. And there was no one to ask. You know, you just take your lumps. You'll literally go out every weekend and get shot and drive home and be like, okay, how do I fix that? You know what I mean? Like, I didn't realize, and it was a point that you brought up before about talking to players in a discussion format right now instead of on a physical manner. I think that's so important because there is two totally different sides of the game. You always hear from the old school videos, paintball is like a chess match, right? Well, until you get to the top level of pro, you don't understand how the pieces even move, right? You don't even get that the knight can do certain things and the queen does. For you, it's not a chess game. It's just a war game. You're going out there shooting at each other. They're shooting back, and you're just playing a game. Well, when you actually evolve and get better, and Damage made this very clear when I got on Damage, that there's a chess match. Each player has a certain perspective that they have control over and certain advantage to go forward and use that together as a team, each player working the right way and setting up the move beforehand brings success in the long run. And the discussion right now is huge. I've seen Ryan Greenspan and Kyle Spica doing question and answers and things like that, but we got to make sure that I've seen a lot of your videos. You answer the right questions. You're breaking down the scenarios. You're breaking. Well, the thing is, a lot of people just don't know. Like, you go, hey, shoot right. You know, come off the box and shoot right, right? Well, there's a lot of steps to do that correctly. It's not just like pull the gun off sideways and just and shoot. You know,
it's interesting because like breakout shooting, such a great example. People are quite happy to be bad at it. And it's like, what are you doing? As in, it's in any other kind of circumstance in life, if you said to somebody, okay, give me $20 and then I'm going to save you $10. They'd be like, no, why am I doing that? You know, whereas, the reality is if you get the breakout right in paintball, you save yourself so much money.
Yeah. Just take one or two off the break. Don't have to shoot at them anymore.
100% they're dead.
Yeah.
So, it's the most important part of the game.
Yep.
And the probably the component of the game that most give them least amount of attention. So it's insane. I mean, it's insane from an economic perspective. If you have an abundance of cash and you want to shoot paint, knock yourself out. And again, this goes back to, if it's a hobby for you and you're actually just like super happy getting out there and playing, never worry about the breakout. Just go have fun. Try and get to the 50. Try and do whatever you want. But if you're more in tune with aspiring to, be as good as you can be, then really pay attention to the breakout. And there's a ton of, what's cool about this time is there's a ton of content that is evergreen. There's always going to be a breakout. You're always going to need to run and shoot. You're always going to have opportunities to bunker people. You're always going to, have opportunities to snap shoot, etc. So, there's so much content out there that people can just access now whenever they want, whenever suits them. Is literally on demand for them. And you're 100% correct. There's some great resources. BKI, the Ghost Sports footage. I mean, all of the old Dirter videos and documentaries and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of, there's a wealth of knowledge and resources out there that people just have to, and if you can't find them, just ask. And, myself and many others will gladly point you in the right direction. So
Nick, we got one more question. It's going to be a two-part question, but one more question before we get off here. And then I want you to make sure you shout out everything and people know where to find you. But this is going to be a two-part question, and I would love if you can combine them together. No problem.
Okay.
Separate, keep them separate.
I'm ready.
If you were talking to a young, inspiring field owner right? They love paintball. They just started a field and they want to know the best way to go about making it successful. What would you say to them? And then the second part of that, what would you say to the young kid that just bought his first paintball gun? If he wanted to just go out and become a part of the paintball society, he hasn't decided if he wants to do competitive yet or not. Where would you point him, and what should he look at? Where should he go? Who should he talk to find success?
Okay. Young field owner first. It's all about customer experience. Now, whether that is the range of soft drinks you have in the store, whether that is the quality of paint that you decide to buy, whether that is the the comfort of the goggles that you decide to use, it all adds up to customer experience. If people have a good experience, they'll come back. If people have a bad experience, they'll look elsewhere for a good experience. So you've got to, that's where you should invest first and foremost, in my opinion. And this isn't 50 cal, 68 cal, semi-auto, classic, whatever. This is just across the board. Think about what you're offering them, think about what it's costing them, and think about the value. And is it actually a good value proposition for the customer?
Love that.
If it is, then you're likely to get a lot of repeat business. Is the experience good? And it extends far beyond just physical equipment and what's in stock in the shop. It's fields of play. Is that field fun to play? Because if it's just 20 barrels evenly spaced out that all sound the same, that are all the same height, that are that's a very bland playing experience compared to attacking a fort, etc., etc., etc. Crawling through ditches. Is there a hill to climb? Whatever it may be, you've got to just, if you can capture their imagination and feed into the experience in that manner. I used to have many years reffing, and we had some crazy experiences. I did three-legged paintball as a ref, and that was quite fun. When you have, one half of the three-legged combination wanting to go one way, one half wanting to go the other way. Even more fun when they get shot at. Does it cost a lot to set up? No, it doesn't. You just got to tie some legs together. So, there's so much potential out there, but I guarantee you everybody who played that game that day talked about it in the pub that evening. And it's customer experience. So I think that's the focal point of all of the effort. And even now, I don't think this is exclusive to, young new field owner. I see a lot of field owners very openly putting in work on their fields, getting things ready for when they can reopen, keeping stuff going, hoping to never stop and just continue evolving. So that would be my answer to the first part.
I love that. Make sure that you're emphasizing your value statement and what you're giving to the customer, and make sure it's clear, and make sure that you are actually giving value. Awesome.
Yeah. And if they turn around and they go, actually, I didn't enjoy that, listen to what they're telling you, because they're giving you the answers of why they didn't enjoy it. And sure, some of them are going to be assholes.
Yeah.
You can filter those responses out, but if you don't listen to them, you don't know what to filter and what not to.
Yeah.
To go to the second part of the question of, kids starting paintball, what advice would I give them? Have fun. It's nothing else matters for that first 12-month minimum. Just have fun. And we've all been at the start of this journey where you have equipment. It might not be the best equipment, but it's your equipment. And the level of fun that you have playing with your equipment is immense when you compare it to the value of that equipment. You don't get that value proposition later on, even if you're spending 10 times as much. You're not having 10 times as much fun because you've got the stress of, oh, I should be able to do this, you know, or I'm competing against these guys, or I'm competing in this event. And it's, you know, that pressure sometimes detracts from the fun. You have even more pressure when you go pro and, you know, you're being given stuff to use, or, you know, stuff's costing you less to go and play events. Again, that's added pressure. I mean, nothing sucks more than Monday after an event and everybody who wasn't at the event was like, how did you get on?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, we came fifth. Or, you know, second is even worse than fifth in that occasion. No, we lost in the finals. That sucks. When you're first starting out and you've got the $100 pump gun, you know, with a little drain pipe loader that you've just made.
Yeah.
They're freaking awesome times.
Yeah.
They're freaking awesome times. And, you know, it's, I mean, I'm super fortunate in that I've experienced the full spectrum. I'm really fortunate that I've been able to enjoy and still enjoy a network of friendship globally. And that to me adds so much fun. You could give us anything. You could give us pea shooters and we'd go and have a blast. It's, you know, it's actually, it extends so far beyond the netting that it's not about playing paintball. Playing paintball is the cherry on top. The adventure, the randomness, the stories that we have, and, you know, still continue to share for decades are actually what it's all about, in my opinion. And those friendships. I mean, the vast majority of the interactions I've had in the past 7 weeks have been with my paintball family, as opposed to my biological family. And it's just, you know, this is a real cool kind of, the world has got a big Etch-a-Sketch and is just going, and, you know, if there's something you want to do it. 100% do it.
I love it.
There's no better time.
Yeah. Okay. I wanted to end it there, but I really do have one question that it comes personally to me. And if you had to have an elevator pitch, right? So quick 3 or 4 lines to a mom or to a dad that's asking you, hey, why should my kid play paintball? What would you say to them?
I would say it's because it's the most positive experience you can ever share with them.
With them. I love that.
So,
yeah.
I mean, like, I was the kid who, my mom and dad didn't come and watch me play for 15 years. They never acknowledged paintball was anything that would ever amount to anything because I chose it over my exams. And I don't recommend that to most kids.
Yeah.
So, and I wouldn't say that to another parent necessarily. And being a parent myself, I would also struggle with that proposition. If, you know, like my eldest tonight is, what's the time now? It's like my eldest in 5 minutes is playing a Fortnite tournament, you know, and if he gets his dream, he would love to be a professional Fortnite player. Now,
crazy. That's insane to hear.
Now, as a parent, you kind of think that's not sustainable. On one hand, as a parent, on the other hand, you go, he's having the time of his life, and who am I to shatter his dreams? Let him live, and, you know, be the best you can be, and have the most enjoyable life you can have. So I will always encourage them to do what makes them happy, and happiness is the commodity that I measure things by. It's not financial. It's, you know, nobody cares what's in your bank balance. Nobody cares what car you drive. If you're happy with you and you're happy with who you are sharing your life and your time with, then you've won. You've 100% won.
I love it.
That's it. So, I mean, to parents whose kids want to get into paintball, support them. You know, support them, but support them by playing with them. This is something you can enjoy together. I mean, I'm super lucky where my kids aren't yet old enough to really play paintball at 8 and 10. But oh my God, I like the day that those two want to play a tournament with me, or just go and have fun playing rental ball together, or a walk on, or, you know, scenario game or whatever. Oh my God.
Yeah.
That would be, aside from the days that they were born, that would be the best day of my life, because I know I can hang with them for however long.
I know I could hang with them.
Yeah, 100%. But I mean, but they're crazy in the sense of, I mean, like Thomas, my eldest, has played twice now, and he's experienced both sides in the sense of the first time he played, he didn't get shot all day, so he thought paintball was the greatest sport in the world. He was like, that was easy, and I was like, oh, let me tell you, it's not always going to be like that.
Yeah.
And interestingly, I said to him the night before, I said, you nervous to talk about it? And he was like, no, I've got this. And I was like, cocky little bugger. I hope it works out for you. But talking to him more on the drive down, and he went with all his, some of his schoolmates and some of their parents, because my condition was, I'll take all the kids paintballing, but parents have to play too, because I want you to share the experience. And just I said to him, why are you so confident? And he was like, well, I think it's going to be more fun to attack. So I'm just going to go and attack and have fun and see how that works. And I was like, cool, just, go and see how that works. And it transpired, I think he bunkered 4 guys.
No way.
Yeah. Didn't get shot all day. And I was just like, how did that work out for you? And he was like, that was really cool. Loved it. And I was like, go. I had never, not given him a word of advice. And that's, hand on heart. I would much rather they learn to do what they think is best. And if they were wrong, to help them understand what choices they could have made. And that's, across the board. And then second time he got annihilated.
Yeah.
Oh, this is the real deal. But what I liked was, because he'd had that taste of how fun it is when things work out, that really superseded any kind of negative vibe of, oh, I just got shot in the neck, that hurt. He wasn't fussed. He was like, right, let's go again. Let's get the fun back. So, yeah, real interesting.
Oh, I love that.
Real.
All right, Nicky T, man. Father extraordinaire. Again, one of the most positive people you can talk to. Thank you. Thank you for your time. Can you give me a shout out? How can people find you? How can people find Shooternology? Where should they be looking for you?
Well, I was just about to make full use of my green screen just before I go and get it.
Oh, Tiger King.
You never know. Yeah, I can get a little bit of Tiger King going on. No, I don't really feel that I deserve to do a shout out, if that makes sense, in the sense of so many people are kind of feeling pressure at the moment. And, if I can be of assistance to anyone, aside from, like paintball coaching, thoughts on anything to do with paintball, this is like, we have a huge social responsibility to actually just do a better job of looking after people and calling out the people who aren't doing that. There's a lot of people out there who aren't taking this seriously. There's a lot of people out there who aren't actually adding anything to the world at the moment. And a lot of that is, that's no longer acceptable, in my opinion. I'm going to go back to this one. In the sense of, we've got to, I think lines in the sand are drawn. This is a case of, there will be a new kind of world order in terms of economically going forward. And we've got a huge opportunity to say, actually, this is where I'm going to play paintball, because I really like the fields there. I really like the staff there. I really like that style of paintball that I can play there, etc. This is where I'm going to do my grocery shopping, whatever. I appreciate the offer of doing shout outs. I just don't see it as, that's not what this is about for me.
Completely
I
understand.
wanted
And I love that even more, Nikki T. And it
I
shows.
wanted to come on here and, this is just this is a cool opportunity to just hang out with people in a virtual world. And just,
Right.
if I can help anyone, please reach out, because I guarantee you I'll enjoy it as much, from my perspective. It's cool I called Will Arroyo last week out of the blue, and Will got to meet my kids for the first time. And, we would never have done that it would be another 10 years down the line by the time my kids were able to play and meet them in person type of thing. So, there's loads of cool opportunities going on. And genuinely, if I can help anyone, just reach out. If you struggle to get a hold of me, check out the Nikki T Facebook page, which is, at True to Knowledge. Instagram, whatever works for you guys. There's a lot of people out there who are very willing to help, and all you ever have to do is ask. And a blanket statement, I feel, knowing the paintball community that I do and that I interact with already, that sentiment is echoed 10,000 times by players all over the world. So, at no point during all of this, if you messaged a paintball friend and just said, "Hey, want to have a chat and share a beer online?" would they go, "No, actually, I gotta cut my toenails," or something like that? They'd be like full on. Yeah, of course I do. That would be cool. That'd be super cool.
Well, Nikki T, you helped me out, man. You put a smile on my face. You made my day. Honestly, I love talking to you at all times, and I appreciate you joining me today, talking about paintball, talking about your perspective of everything, and just looking forward to the future.
100%. 100%. And what's even cool is, whilst we were doing this, my window cleaner even came and cleaned the windows. So perfect.
Awesome, Nikki T. Well, thanks again, man. I will talk to you soon.
Thanks, Kyle.
Have a good one.